Hello, and welcome to Up Close and Personal, Amplifying Latino College Student Voices from across the nation. I'm Marissa Muñoz, Northeast Regional Director for Young Invincibles, an organization that works to amplify youth voice in the political process and increase economic opportunities for young people today. I'm happy to be here to facilitate a conversation with students to learn more about how the pandemic has impacted their persistence and exacerbated existing inequities. We'll learn about what they need to navigate the changing college landscape and the challenges that they face in accessing mental health services, academic supports, and other resources. We hope that today's session provides you with additional insight to ensure that policies, programs, and practices truly address student needs so that more students graduate from college and enter into a meaningful career with a living wage. And so now what I'd like to do is hand the mic over to our panelists today to introduce themselves. You'll each have about a minute and a half to share a little bit about yourself, your college, your major, the type of courses in terms of in-person, hybrid, or remote that you're participating in, and then speak broadly to how the pandemic has impacted you. And so we'll get started. Tomas?
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Thomas. I'm from Brazil. I'm an international student. I'm already have a bachelor's in Brazil, but I came into this country to improve my language, to can learn better the English. But since I became a student in a community college here, I got involved with the community, and I started to enjoy other things, other situations, like the help. I became a volunteer in a clinic, in a health clinic, and I started to get like this patient to help people with health issues. So I definitely decided to join the nursing program. Right now, I'm I'm finishing the prereqs. The prerequisites to apply for the nursing program for the next year, for 2021, and hopefully in like a couple 2 years I will have my certificate. This is my turn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ashley, we'll move on to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Chico. I'm representing the University of Central Florida, Crea Futuro Mentor. Major is political science, minor is philosophy, and I'm also serving as an associate justice underneath the student government judicial branch on campus. In terms of my courses this semester, it had to change from fully in person to half online to now fully online. So that is how the pandemic has affected me in terms of what I'm doing right now with my courses.
Thank you for sharing that, Ashley. Yvette?
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Yvette Perez. I'm a human services major at the New York City College of Technology. And I'm currently, like Thomas and Ashley, having classes online. This pandemic has really affected every facet of my life, from school to work to family. There's no shortage of challenges that COVID has brought. So not just me, but I'm sure everybody who's attending as well. My main issue has been that because we're all mostly working virtually, it's been exceedingly easier for those who are in positions to support us as students to turn a blind eye to the supports that we actually need.
Thank you for sharing that, Yvette. Before we get started, I just want to go over the format for today's session. And so I'll be asking each of our panelists specific questions. Then we'll open it up to questions for all of them to answer. And then we will leave time for you as participants to ask questions of the group as well. So with that said, I will go ahead and get started with Thomas. And so Thomas, we want to learn a little bit more about, outreach for supports. And so, first of all, how are you feeling about your classes and your overall academic development during this time?
I'm the kind of person that definitely like and prefer to have the regular classes because I would like to interact. I like to ask for questions for professor, and during she or he is explaining the material, and it's getting really hard for me because I never signed up for online classes before, since I definitely prefer to stay there. And definitely in the middle of the semester, just everything shut down and go home and stay there and do Zoom meetings. Everything was totally different. I needed to relearn how to learn and I had a couple issues, technology issues. I think most of us got those issues because I have has a notebook good enough to do like one essay is a thing, but to do like video meetings all day long, have different programs, different simulators to do. It was another issue that I needed to solve it through the time. And for me as an ESL, I need to learn the subject and I need to learn the language because most things that the professor tells in the class or write for us, I just don't know how the vocabulary, just a couple things. And in the class, I can just hold my hand, ask for the professor, and she can explain me. Now I need to spend like the double of the time because I need to dig more. I need to take the book. I need to go for a website. Was really what a hard situation. Now, of course, I'm coming to be more comfortable with this, but in the beginning, it was really, really difficult to handle this. As I told, like I need to relearn how to learn. So, wasn't.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it definitely sounds like you had a lot of challenges in the transition to online learning. And now as you are in this next semester of school in the pandemic, deep into the pandemic, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about access to resources that are able to help you with your academics. I know that there are a wide range of experiences for students in accessing campus resources. And so curious to know if you're able to find campus resources to meet your needs. And if so, how did you go about finding and accessing them?
As Ashley, I forgot to tell this part, but as Ashley, I am mentored on the Criar Futuros too, and this was something that was definitely helping me because through the Criar Futuros they helped me to figure out like a notebook, some resources for another internet resources that I can keep doing, having my classes, and even for simple things like copy machine and border books. They definitely help me. Those things that are amazing to keep studying. As the lockdown, I'm here by myself. I support myself, but as we had the lockdown, I lost all my jobs. Like I usually have two part-time jobs in a restaurant and at the college because I'm one of the student workers over there at Naugatuck Valley. And since everything locking down, I don't have a job anymore. I don't make money. How can I do to pay my tuition? How can I do to pay my housing and my stuff? And through all these situations, and as I know, like Fatima and Ingrid from the Hispanic Federations, they helped me to look for company, for no-profit organizations, offering internships, something like we can try to drive and do something. And thanks God, I got an internship that they paid me to help the community. To help the community during the lockdown with food pantries, bag materials for school, and those things definitely helping me to stay here because I was in a situation that okay, maybe I need to stop to study. I can't study anymore because I need to decide to pay the college or to pay food or to pay housing. So I need to survive. I don't want to stop my dreams. I definitely like to seek my goals, get my certification, start to work, help more people, but I need to look for my own pocket and what do you do now if I needed to decide. And this helps through the Hispanic Federation, through the Criar Futuros, and these people that I started to know through this last year, 2019, they helped me a lot. They are really, really important to me to survive and to figure out and can keep doing.
Yeah. that's really great to hear that you had a social network to connect with, who were able to connect you to jobs, and that you were able to both stay in school and work to sustain yourself. So I'm happy to hear that. I know that the pandemic has impacted, economic situation for many students. And online learning has also done that for the academics, right? So just curious to know a little bit more about how moving to online learning has affected your connection with your peers. Has socializing with your peers changed for you now? And are there any supports in place to help facilitate those connections?
Yeah, affect of a lot. We always keep in touch with my mentees and with my friends by apps, conversation apps, WhatsApp and something like that. But we need to we need to relearn how to do things. We are using social media, FaceTime, Zoom meetings, and we schedule weekly meetings. Since the things, it was during the total lockdown, when the things start to reopen a little bit, like a McDonald's drive-through. Guys, let's go over there and stay on the parking lot, 6 feet apart, and you can just look at it, talking loud, to laugh a little bit, to hang out a little bit, because all the situation was so stressed. During the first and second month of the pandemic, of the high top of the pandemic, everyone to stay home, nobody go out and wear masks and all those things. We got like most of us depressed, or we have our own issues, because we usually stay on the street, on the colleges, hanging out and on parks, and we try to talk a lot with all of us using this social medias, using our chats and the things to try to be connected. We are friends, we are separated, but we continue to be peers. We are here for each other, and we need to support each other. Was a moment that I figured out as a mentor in the Career Futuros. I was not helping students to figure out the college, but they figure out their own lives. Because few times we are just taking a mug of coffee, stay like facing like now, and talking. Oh, I would like to go outside. I would like to enjoy. No, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about a new show, a new Netflix. Was hard. Was really hard. But thanks, we are figuring out, and the thing is getting better again. And but even way, I think we learned a lot, because even now the situation is starting to getting not normal, but not so hard that was before. We are learning. We learned some tools, and we learned some situations, and we can use it for the future to save time, to save money. Once you already have your stuff, you can, despite to just get your car and go somewhere, you can do it by home. Was tough. It's still tough, but we can figure out better things now.
Yeah. No, I think that's really great to hear. I know that during the pandemic, it was there were lots of concerns outside of academics, and it sounds like you were able to support your mentees in a really great way to help them through the semester by just connecting with them. One last question. We have a couple of minutes for you, and that is, as you continue your studies, how are you building some sense of comfort during this time? How are you coping as a student?
My sense of comfort is basically always looking for my goals. I have a goal. I would like to be a nurse. I would like to stay in the healthy area, helping people. And any time that I thought like I got the pressure in my room, I'm locking down, I can do nothing, and it's hard for me. I don't know if I would like to keep studying because it's getting really difficult for me. I was in those times, and after this this boom of feelings, of bad feelings pass, I start to think like, no, I have a goal. I would like to do it. I look at myself and 5 years later or 3 years later in a hospital, in a clinic, doing other stuff, and I don't lose this. This make me comfortable. This make me to control my social psychology part, and can put my feet on the sorry, my feet on the floor again, and keep walking, keep doing. If I need to wear a mask for 2 3 years, I'll do it. If I need to finish my bachelor's in front of the computer, I do it, because I'm looking for something, and I want this. I have a target and I go on this. And these are the things that all of us students need to think about. It's difficult, it's hard, but remember, why do you start? What's the reason do you start to study? You had a reason to start to study. When you try to remember every day that you have a hard time, that you have a harmful situation, remember why you started, why you get you to begin this way, this journey, and keep doing, even if this pandemic situation is a cut a little bit of our time, get some difficult points, but we can do it. We can pass through it.
Thank you, Tomas. Really appreciate your answers. They provided great insight. And so now we're going to shift over to Ashley to learn a little bit more about, how the pandemic has impacted her academic performance and preparedness. And so, Ashley, just curious how your classes have changed as a result of the pandemic. You spoke a little bit about it in your intro and just wanted to learn a little bit more.
Definitely. So prior to the pandemic, I had started off my college experience with fully in person. And then in my junior year, I switched it to half in person, half online because it worked for my family lifestyle. And then during the pandemic, everything shut down. So it had to turn to what they called remote learning. But in reality, it wasn't remote learning. It was crisis learning. It was a bunch of different professors trying to pull whatever resources they had or wanted to use and impose it upon the students. And not all of them were as sympathetic as others, unfortunately. In my experience, there was one professor that would change the exam, instead of it being 50 minutes like we would have in class, to 20 minutes online for fear of cheating, which doesn't translate correctly, because every online class that I've taken, they either give you whatever time they're saying unlimited because you can do it throughout the week, or they have a set amount of minutes saying 50, user resources. It just didn't translate correctly. And I felt a lot of the students feel that fear of, am I going to pass? What's going to happen to my tuition? I just lost my housing. Am I going to lose my classes too? What does this mean for my family and my future? How far is this going to impact me? So in terms now, 7-8 months later, everyone's transitioning to mostly online or hybrid. It still hasn't improved much. What I'd like to see is the university level or the college levels, every level, pre-K and up, to have a plan in motion that says you can't change your syllabus halfway through just because a pandemic hit. You can't impose this type of sanction upon students because they had to figure it out with a hotspot and now they don't have Wi-Fi. Even in my own sister's class, she gets punished because she answers about a minute late when the Wi-Fi is lagging, and she can't really control that. So I just would love to see a systemic change, preparing for the future, because this happened out of nowhere and something else is going to happen out of nowhere. But we need to keep constantly students at the center, fold, and focus, because without the students, the university is nothing.
Great, thank you. You spoke a little bit about improving the situation. Do you have any specific recommendations or things that are working for you as you transitioned to more online learning and saw the shift in academic, like with your professors and your syllabus?
So in terms of an online platform fully, I would like to say that it's nice and dandy in terms of setting aside, perfect time to say from 11 to 2, I'm going to school, nobody interrupt me. As we all know, living with a family, that doesn't exactly quite work out. And having to juggle that with a part-time job, for example, plus internship and extracurricular activities, all being online, it's hard and difficult. But I have to echo what Thomas said beautifully, keeping in mind the goal of what I had at the beginning of the university and now keeps me going. There's a reason that I'm a justice on campus and serving under student government. There's a reason that I'm getting the type of degree that I'm going for. And there's a reason that I love mentorship and that I get to do it for a part-time. So while it may be difficult, I am super grateful that I get to do it. One thing that does work for me is keeping a schedule that immediately goes on my Outlook calendar so that I keep it at every day. I get to see, what mentors and mentees I have to speak to, what judicial meetings do I have, and what can I look for in the rest of the week.
That's great. In addition to your calendar and keeping up with the routine, is there anything that's been especially helpful for you?
Besides the calendar and keeping up with the routine, I would just say being honest with the people around me. If I say I'm in this type of summit, that no one please come and interrupt the door, then I make it well known to everyone beforehand. That's a tip. Do not get angry at people when you just haven't given them a notice. Just being as transparent and open as possible. Also, I'd like to point out that the people at Crea Futuros have been very helpful, as Thomas has said, in terms of being extremely understanding, giving out resources to us as the mentors who are doing this, some of us for the first time ever. And all of us are doing it on a virtual platform. So just allowing the grace and space to move forward as we should on our own terms and being able to best support our mentees in return.
That's great. Ashley, can you, for those that are not familiar with the CREA program, can you just quickly provide an overview?
Sure. So Crea Futuros translates to creating futures. It's focusing on the Latinx community and the Hispanic journey for college students to ensure that we have a higher college graduation rate for freshmen starting off and sophomores. So we're connecting upper level students with lower incoming classmen, freshmen and sophomores, with a mentor. So I serve as a mentor and I get to meet with mentees on a biweekly basis. We host cohort meetings, all virtual. And it's just a fun experience to allow students to connect to campus when they're not able to. Freshmen, just like students in pre-K and kindergarten, don't know what it is to really attend school. And in the same manner, freshmen and sophomores don't know what it is to go to the biggest university in America. So we kind of have to play the mini liaison and being that empathy tool and saying, how can I help you and service you on campus? Because I went through it. I was a transfer student. I know what it is to go into a new environment and be completely alone for a year and a half, not making those instantaneous important connections to each department that you need necessary. And time flies very quickly. So I'm fortunate to get to do this and fortunate to get to do this with my colleagues here as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ashley. And now moving on to Yvette. Yvette, how has the pandemic impacted or affected your future career plans?
So that's a great question. The COVID pandemic has definitely affected my future career and plans, as it's created this shroud of uncertainty over not only job prospects, but continuing education as well. As I prepare to graduate with my bachelor's degree next semester, I'm venturing into an extremely competitive job market that's currently overflowing with applicants due to our current economic climate. And so although human services, right, I am a human services major, although human service agencies are needed, right, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the funding to hire new people. And on top of this, I have plans to continue on pursuing my master's in social work. But I'm finding this plan even more difficult to materialize now as the pandemic has created so much financial uncertainty for me. I'm not sure how I'll pay for grad school, and many programs that were previously in place to provide the funding and assisting that I would need are now underfunded and overwhelmed. So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I know that campuses often provide, career readiness support. Just curious to know now that everything is online or hybrid of sorts. Have you been engaging with the career readiness supports available? And if so, how? What's that experience been like for you?
So I think when talking about career readiness supports, especially on my campus, I think it's important to highlight how difficult they are to access right now. Right, pre-COVID, I was engaged in a lot of career readiness supports. Right, they were available to me. They were at times even handed to me. Right, and now I find that that's not the same narrative that we see now during COVID. As it continues, these readiness supports are being halted, dismantled, defunded, underfunded, and overwhelmed, right? My campus just doesn't have the funding to continue previous supports that were in place. And I believe that me and my peers need funding. We need these supports.
Yeah. Thank you. You've already shared a little bit about, recommendations, and that is funding to increase access to these services. What can be done for you and your peers to find resources on career readiness during these times? So to expand upon that. And then what recommendations do you have for also improving those services that are available?
So aside from the funding, I think that the program that we all kind of interact with, right, the Crear Futuros program, the fact that we're offering mentoring to these students is very helpful. And then I think in turn, we ourselves need this kind of mentoring, right, for particularly grad school, right? We, as we find that Latinx students don't attend graduate school at the same rates as our white counterparts, we definitely see a big gap, a big disparity in those who can help us, realize and materialize these things that we want to do. I think what can be done is just multiply the resources available, the funding for the resources, like I said, and the accessibility of them, right? I find a lot of students, the resources that may be available to them, they don't know anything about it. They don't even know it exists because the people just don't put it out there, right?
Thank you, Yvette. So now what I'd like to do is this is open to all of you. I'm going to ask some questions and feel free to answer. We've talked a lot about, academic supports, career services, taking a look at like mental health services during this difficult time, right? What has been supporting your mental health like during this time, and have you been able to access on or off-campus services?
I think I'd like to jump in on this one. Honestly speaking, there hasn't been much support for mental health during these times. Within my campus, I'm finding it increasingly difficult for myself and the students that I work with to find these resources, right? These counselors are not available, although they're there. And the assistance that they offer is extremely short-lived. They live off of referrals, and they'll refer you out regardless of whether your next appointment is in a month or 2 months. And there's very little follow-up. And so I feel like my campus is definitely lacking in terms of mental health support.
May I talk a little bit about the health support? And I'm for you, sorry, but in my campus in Naugatuck Valley Community College, we have the counselors in both campus. I stay most of my time in Danbury campus, not in Waterbury. I know in Waterbury they have good resource too. They have good people working over there. But here in Danbury, we have an amazing counselor. They get busy too, but she tried to do as best as possible. And a few times she can't follow in less than a month or less than 2 months because has a lot of students looking for. But since we started to talk, we are in 4 mentors in Danbury campus. And we start to talk with this counselor. And look, if you have somebody that you figure out the issues just to like to talk with someone else, somebody that is passing through this situation, and you do like to refer them for us, we can talk with the person. Like I have two mentees that were referred from my counselor to me. And I realized they just would like to talk. They know how to study. They know how to do everything. They doesn't have issues with the college. They're having psychological issues with the situation. And okay, let's talk. Let's talk about the life. Let's open your mind, And I don't know if the all the as Yvette told now, I'm not sure if all the colleges are doing it, all the universities are doing it, but at least for us, we are a small college, we are a community college, but we are trying to care as much as possible of our students in general.
Thank you. So it sounds like we have a wide range of experiences in terms of what's happening in regards to accessing mental health services and what's provided on campuses. Let's take a look here at one other question I have for you is I know that it's been a lot to move to online learning. How have you been balancing that with college, other responsibilities like extracurriculars, family priorities, work? How have you been managing all of this?
I'd like to answer that. Starting off, I think that in order to best manage it, you have to be real with yourself. And I'm not sure if many people resonate with this, but for me, in my situation, every day is something new. So the online classes does help me. But at the same time, since I have Crea Futuros to balance and my extracurriculars plus family, I have to put family first. Because if my parents need me to do something or help, or the household needs attention, I have to pay attention to those things first and my siblings first before I take care of myself. So although school is being pushed to the back burner, I still make sure to be on time with my tasks, to check a week and a half in advance, being up to date with my mentees, talking to them constantly, open communication, and being honest is the best medicine. I cannot stress that enough. It just puts a lot of confusion to the sides. It just prevents a lot of confusion and chaos happening in the lives.
Thank you. Yvette or Thomas, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I'd definitely like to add. I really like the way the question was worded, right? How have I been balancing, right? I don't feel like I've been balancing. I really feel like I've been juggling. Between school and work in particular, I've been feeling really burnt out, right? I work 3 part-time jobs and I attend school full-time. And like Thomas had said earlier, I also support myself. And the pandemic is making my goals just feel even more distant and even more unachievable. It's really difficult to tell students like there are no supports or there are no this or there are no that. And so I think that dealing with the emotional, labor that goes into that, as well as just the physical labor of just being in front of the computer all day, every day, has just been a lot.
Thank you. Yvette, you answered this question a while ago, and I'd like to throw this out to Ashley and Thomas. Given the fact that we are in this economic crisis as a result of the pandemic, has the pandemic redefined your future career plans?
I will say for me, it did in a semi-positive way. For example, I was on the pre-law track. And so I had been preparing for a year and a half, anyone who's gone through it or knows about it, for the LSAT. And then out of nowhere, it got switched to the LSAT Flex. It's completely different taking it in a district, county, open area and taking it, at home in a different bedroom. So preparing for that is different. And then could you repeat the question? I'm so sorry. My sibling just texted me.
Oh, how has the pandemic redefined your future career plans?
Oh, yes. So I had to come up with a plan B. I had to think, okay, if law school didn't work out for me for whatever reason, because I really personally don't want to do remote law learning, what other career path could I go for? And I had to look inside myself and had to say, okay, great. I like the things that I'm going for. And I'm thinking about graduate school and I'm thinking about, pursuing the education route as an alternative. So positively, it did affect me.
Thank you, Ashley.
I think it's based in the same way. Not something that really affected to change something because I was already pursuing for the nursing career, and when all of this happened, I was not some I figured out before was, but it was something an extra like to see we really need more people to carry out the ones because the nurses, the doctors, they are definitely the front line. They are definitely the people who are fighting for us and help. We keep surviving. We keep being better. We came back to our normal lives, and this was just something an extra thing to. Okay, now I need to do it. I'm financially struggling. I have to work in two right now too, but I had 3, 4 part times to trying to build my money, and but I keep doing it. If I don't have time enough to sleep, if I don't have time enough to hang out with friends because I need to stay in front of a book or working, I will because my goal is help those people, and this pandemic just show us um, how not unprepared, but how we can suffer a lot without good professionals. Of course, we have good professionals, but we have more. And as fast as I can be one of those in the front line helping, I'll be happier.
Thank you, Thomas. And one more question before we open it up to the audience. What do key decision makers like college presidents and policymakers need to know in order to better meet your needs as students and help you graduate from college and enter into a meaningful career?
Go ahead. Ladies first.
Okay, thanks. I was like, okay. I would say is to listen. I would say on the University of Central Florida's campus, our president has done an excellent job in being open, transparent, and really being for the students. I can hear his sincerity. I can feel it constantly being updated. So I would just say continue to listen for the students and to be on top of the departments, because the department of funding, for example, and grant funding should be more open. It should be reaching out to students individually. One email, sending it at the beginning of orientation for freshmen is not sufficient. It is a higher necessity that needs to be met for each student. I'd also like talking back earlier with in terms of counseling and psychological services, one giant, hey, we're here. If you need us, call us. I don't agree with that. I think that you should be reaching out to every student and saying, do you need our services? Here's a referral in case you want to. There are many different ways to do this, even in an online platform for professors. The beginning of their syllabus, it does not take much to include that information at the beginning. One of my professors does an excellent job of constantly updating the announcements of political science department and making sure that we have all the resources that we would like. So Kurdish program, study abroad program, remote learning, workshops. And I say, thank you, Professor. Thank you for being on top of it for us.
That's really helpful to hear. Thank you.
I tell almost the same. We are a community college. We're smallest, but need to hear more the student because in the beginning when everything shut down, most of us didn't have computers at home. I had issues with computer. How can I do to attempt an online class without a computer? And we have a bunch of computer labs at school. So can't you just at least, figure out something open for have time, have seats, you need to figure out. I use a lot printer machine because I would like to print and write my material. I didn't have any more. I need to pay by my own pocket. And the students who get food in a food pantry, the food pantry locked down for months, for actually 2 months. What's happening for those students who need that help? I know they are getting in a hurricane that everyone has just thrown that up and no one knows how to do, but you need to they need to hear more about the student. And as she told now, health issues or psychological issues, go there, send email, call for students one by one. Do you need help? Do you need something? Do you need food? Do you need housing? They helped us. At the least at the end of the last semester, they definitely helped us. But I thought they got so long until do something. We are lost, and we thought we are lost it because no one was there to help, to listen us. And they got so many time to do it. I think this is the important. If something happen, if you are a leader and if something happens, you would need to be the first one to tell for everyone under you, wait, we have a problem, give me a little time, I'm gonna figure out something, okay? And I will hear all of you. I just was waiting for it, and they got so long to do it.
Thank you. Yvette, would you like to add anything?
Really quick, I'm so sorry.
Sure.
I feel that, and you guys also say it too, if you feel the same way, I feel as though people have forgotten that we're in the middle of a pandemic, that students are choosing to continue their studies in the undergraduate and graduate and professional degree level because they don't want to stop. And if so, we need to be the absolute best help that we can be to each other. That if a student misses an assignment, be there to help them. Don't be against them. That students should be supported in every aspect of their education because this is an option. So we need to encourage, especially the Hispanic community, to keep it moving forward. It's not an option in the schools for K through 12, but for colleges, absolutely need to do better. You guys can go ahead.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of just echo exactly what Ashley and Thomas said. I feel like everything that they said is exactly what I would have said. Definitely listening to the students, increasing supports, and just making sure that professors and school support staff in general understand exactly what Ashley said, that this is optional and that the main goal is to improve enrollment, improve retention, and to not turn students away, right? We don't want to discourage students, especially Latino students, Latinx students, who increasingly don't attend college at the same rates, like I said earlier, as our white counterparts, right? We need to feel like we're supported in order to feel confident in continuing. We already step into college feeling like we don't belong, right? Feeling like this may not be a territory. This is uncharted territory, right? This is not a territory for us. And so I think that it's really important, exactly what Ashley and Thomas said.
Thank you. Thank you all for adding such thoughtful recommendations. So now I'm going to hand over the mic to one of the audience members who would like to ask a question. Would anyone like to step forward and ask a question? Okay, it looks like we have someone. Hello? Okay, so what I think, I might be having some technical issues here. So I'm gonna here she is. She's connecting to the stage. So it's Rosie and Alejandra.
Yes. Hello,
Great.
everyone. Thank you for this great information. As a college student, I can identify myself with many of those things that you mentioned. COVID has been a difficult time for us as a student and also as a full-time worker, and especially when you're working in the social service and in Latino community, that this crucial and crisis time, you prove how difficult it is for us sometimes move forward for the economic issue and another barrier that limit us as a society, as a part of the society. My question is, how can you advise someone that wants to give up in this time? Don't give up.
Who would like to take that?
So what you tell them? Hello?
What is your advice to someone who is thinking about dropping out of school?
I would say
Sorry, I can hear you properly.
I would say is to be your best motivator, because nobody will fight as hard for your education than you. You can try going to find advice from 10 different professors, and 10 different professors might discourage you from continuing them. I would say, find your reason of why you're doing it and continue to say, this is why I'm doing it. And I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it to make a positive impact for the future generation of students who want to do exactly what I'm doing, that I'm going to fight as hard for not only myself, but keep going and making the path a positive impact for the future. That's what I would say.
I said the same. You are the only one who knows why are you doing it, and you are doing it not just by you. You are doing by the future, for your kids, for your niece, nephew. You are doing for the next ones.
Thanks.
Thank you. Alejandrina?
Yes, thank you, and congratulations to all of you for all those insights. It's very rewarding to hear you all as a student. I work as a parent engagement coordinator in the state of Tennessee for the MEP program. And my question is, how can parents support you, even either if you are home or you are away from home? How can they support you?
I'd like to answer this one, especially because my mom is here watching. She's in the comments. And so I think what parents can do to support their children during this time is really just being there, right? Just call your kids, or if you're living with them, sit with your kids, do something different that's outside of your work and their work, right? Just sometimes a movie, maybe even, and sometimes movies can be too long. What about just an episode of a TV show or something else to kind of unwind and bring the familial relationship back to earth, right? Me and my mom, we play games in iMessage, we call each other, whatever free moment, even if it's just a minute, to let your student know that you're there for them, you support them, you love them, and you recognize them.
Sorry, just a quick point. My mom is in another country. She is in Brazil now, but every morning she texts me, "Good morning, I love you, I'm proud of you, and keep doing this." I don't need money, I don't need any other things. I would like to have her on my side, but just those words keep me, okay, let's wake up for another new day and do it.
And really quick, I'd like to say is that in terms of my mom, she doesn't understand what an online class is because she's never taken a real online class. So I would just say, try to understand where your children are coming from and sit down with them and actually have them show you what that online class is and what it.
Thank you. So thank you all. So Ashley, Thomas, and Yvette, I think we're at time. You're all amazing. I wanted to thank you for participating today and for sharing your stories, especially your experience navigating the new college landscape with all of us. Your voices, are essential to highlighting the reality of what is happening, helping inform future policies, programs, and practices that help ensure more students stay on the pathway to college success during this critical time. Post-secondary education for many has been the gateway to a meaningful career and a better quality of life. However, quality and affordable college education has become increasingly less accessible, with growing costs and academic requirements. And so that was even before the onset of the pandemic. And Black and Latino students who have been disproportionately affected by this health and economic crisis need more support now than ever before. So we hope that you leave the session today empowered to be part of the movement for change, helping ensure that students have the supports and resources that they need to stay on the pathway to college success. Thank you.